Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to our very first River Cities lunch session. I'm Elisabeth Papayeriou, speaking from frozen Stockholm here, and I'm really happy to see you all. I guess that we are expecting a few more, but it's time now to start. So we at River Cities Network, we have designed a series of webinars to be a space where we can step away from our daily tasks and engage with the experts across Europe. And we want to discuss and evolve our relationship between our cities and our waterfronts. And a little bit about River Cities for those who are new to our community. We are a European-based network. We are dedicated to the sustainable regeneration of our urban waterfronts. Our mission is to build on the belief that water ecosystems are the lifeblood of our cities, and we act as a bridge to consolidate decades of experience in culture-based regeneration and to help local communities, urban planners, architects, stakeholders to safeguard their rivers. Whether through cultural projects, technical expertise, workshops, webinars, we are committed to ensure our waterways thrive for generations to come. So, on today's session, we are looking at nature as the engine of our cities. Often we think that urban environments are purely man-made, but it's actually ecosystem services, the clean air, the water filtration, the temperature provided by the natural world that make our cities livable and resilient. And today we will see how we can bridge the gap between the scientific evidence and community action. To help us in this subject, we have invited two incredible experts from Europe with us. First, we will hear from Eva Stache from the Netherlands. Eva is an architect and researcher at Delft University of Technology, and her work focuses on green as building material and climate adaptive design. And we also have Lia Ghilardi, a renowned urban sociologist and cultural strategist who has spent over 25 years helping cities with their place DNA. After the conversation, we will move in a live Q&A where you will have the opportunity to tell us your examples, your challenges, your ideas, your questions. So without further details, I would like to start, and Eva, the floor is yours. Welcome.
Thank you, Elisabeth. You made a very nice introduction for me, so I will try now to share my. I cannot share. Bernd, could you help me?
Now you can.
Yes. Thank you. I would like to tell you today about urban ecosystem services, and you will hear quite quickly what these exact are. Just have to learn how to move my my presentation. Yes. I will begin with the problems. We have a lot of problems and we hear of them, but sometimes we experience them. One of the problems is heat, which can take extreme forms like this. The other problem is drought, which you can see on this very sad picture somewhere in Sicily. And the third very big problem we have are floodings, which somewhere in Valencia happened. These three problems, heat, flooding, and drought, are interconnected. So we cannot solve them without solving all three of them. But we have a very heavy helping hand, and these are ecosystem services. Ecosystem services are all the functions of nature we people use for our well-being, and there are really a lot of them. We did a research at the TU in Delft to have a look at how can we connect problems to ecosystem services. Can we do this? And we discovered that we can connect almost every urban problem to a lack of ecosystem service. Like you see environmental problems, which you think that it's the most logical of all of them, because air pollution, water shortage, urban waste, heat islands are all problems which nature can help with. But we discovered that also social problems, urban social problems, like hunger, unemployment, healthcare, social life, education, violence, crime, we can all link all these problems linked to a lack of some or more ecosystem services, which was quite discovering. Ecosystem services, we have more than 60 identified until now, but there are more than. So we established that the lack of a coherent ecosystem in a city is linked by causes to many urban problems. It's very important to remember this. I will go in more deeply in 4 of them, which are very interesting. Cooling. We have seen that heat is a problem. So let's have a look how heat actually materialize. Of course, we have to do with the sun, which sends us a lot of radiation. When radiation arrives to the city and touches the stony walls of a city, then happens 2 things. One is the heat will be absorbed, the thermal energy will be absorbed partly by the stone and partly will be reflected to another surface in the city, let's say concrete or asphalt. And it happens the same again and again. What is very interesting on this picture is that it's only a very small amount of radiation or thermal energy which leaves the city. All the rest stays with us, increases the surface temperature, which increases the air temperature by convection. As you can see here, if we had an initial temperature of 33 degrees, then adding, for instance, 8 degrees Celsius, we will get a city which is much too hot. What happens if we have greenery in the city? In contrast with what we have seen in the other example, then we see that the shadow and the transpiration of plants and of trees reduces the surface temperature also of the stony surfaces, and the air temperature will be decreased by as far as 8 degrees possibly, which is already a very nice temperature to have it in summer. So actually what happens is that the incoming shortwave solar radiation will be transformed by stony surfaces into convection and heat in the city, heat islands. And the latent heat, which is captured in the water vapor by transpiration and evaporation, will leave the surface and the space of the city. Here is a result of one of our researches, which showed that surfaces which are stony or very dark will increase in temperature to really astonishing heights, and all greenery will stay under the 40 degree. The only green surface which you see here at the right in the middle of the picture is a plastic one, which is not living and not transpirating. Its Y is also much hotter than the real living surfaces. So let's see what's in the city which can sustain this theory. This is the museum situated at the Quai Branly in Paris, which we measured such a temperature middle in the summer. Very interesting, such a floor in the city where you see the differences between the different surfaces. This is a project in the Netherlands where also you see immediately what a difference between the surfaces materialize. And this is Budapest, where exists this monstrous building which is only greenery and which is cooling the city very much. And this is a Vietnamese example. So I've put here so many examples, because everywhere we see people and architects who try to do something about cooling, and sometimes with much success. Then is this very interesting topic of health. Greenery is doing for us very much for health, but because of the owner of the problem is mostly not the same as the owner of the solution, we never see the real result. But we have a very interesting example in Paris, where they do greenery now some years to reduce heat and to make the environment more healthy. And I was really very enthusiastic to read that in October last year, the mayor of Paris announced that the city greening has saved 61 billion euros, which is 10 times the cost of the investment. So when someone will tell you that yes, it's very expensive to put greenery and we cannot gain it back, this amount of money, it's simply not true. It's only we don't see it. And in Paris, it was really very evident what happened. They did things like this, a lot of kilometers for bikes, reduction of the speed limit, which is also very important. And they planted 155,000 trees, new trees. Parking spaces eliminated a lot. Air pollution was reduced by all these measures and the trees by 40%. And which was really astonishing, that the premature death and chronic diseases halved, which is, of course, an immense decrease of care costs. This is, again, a very expressive image of how the particulate matter in Paris changed during all these years. You can see the really very nice green surface in 2023, which is almost free of a lot of particulate matter. So it is a very important and good measure to put greenery on all those urban places. Because still we don't have the legislation which allows us to put greenery in a very proper manner in the cities. I would like to take your attention to this rule which was formulated in the Netherlands. Let's make our homes like this. See 3 trees from your home. Have a 30% of the neighborhood covered in green and live within 300 meters of park or green space. We already know that the 30% is not enough. It should be 50, but however, it is a good way of at least a bit increase the health of the place where you are living. And then I come back to these pictures, and I will tell you at the end why I repeat the pictures of the Museum of the Quai Branly, or another place also in Paris, in La Défense, which is par excellence full of stone and glass, and however you see all over also greenery at this time. This is a picture that I like very much. This was the Place de Catalogne, and this is now like this. I couldn't find better pictures, but this picture speaks also enough. Then is another ecosystem service which is really very interesting, the CO2 storage. If you look at this picture, you will think you see some buildings in the Netherlands and some trees and some asphalt and some shadows. In reality, you are looking in these trunks, you are looking to at least the half of the trunk at CO2. Because wooden is made of carbon dioxide for a bit more than the half. So, for instance, this hotel Jakarta in Amsterdam is made for the half from CO2, which is a very interesting way of looking at it. The Hotel Jakarta published also the exact data about it. 6,000 cubic meter of wood was used, which sequestered 5,400 tons of carbon dioxide, which is really an amazing amount of CO2. This is a picture. I don't know if at your place is to see up, because this picture shows that the Meranti wood is sequestering 799 kilogram of CO2. In this case, this is oak, which is capable of sequestering 1 ton of CO2. And the last one, which is Pankirai, and can sequester 1,400 kilogram of carbon dioxide, which is also really very, very much. So when you look at this beautiful place, which is actually a cultural, recreational place, you look not only to greenery, which is nice and aesthetic, but you look also to a lot of CO2. And then my favorite ecosystem service, which is provided by only one animal, which is the beaver. The beaver is this one, a very sympathetic person. It's an extreme, fantastic engineer. They build dams like this, and they do this for free, which is very interesting, which delivered a very interesting situation in the Czech Republic, where they wanted them to build, and they estimated that it will cost around 1.2 million euros, and the permits they succeeded to get them, but until 2025 didn't succeeded to build it, because the ownership of the land was not correctly resolved. And two families of Eurasian beavers found it too long. They decided to take the whole thing in their own teeth, and they built them for free into their own time, double so big as the people wanted in the Czech Republic, but now they have an incredibly good dam, really without paying for it. Beavers are used in many projects at this time. Also in the United States, I've found projects also in Hungary, in many places, because they help actually to transform desert-like places around cities into fertile wetlands, which is a very important thing when we have a look at. This is how beavers. These are dwellings of beavers, also constructed by beavers. And if you have a look at the ecological footprint of cities, it's very important to know that the desertification around the cities can be helped by beavers. This is a small calculation about the ecological footprint, for instance, of the Netherlands, which is enormous. It's really very, very high. And if you look at this calculation, you see that if everybody on the earth would live like people in the Netherlands, then we need really 4 times the earth which we have. And then I come back to repeating some pictures, because what is really very interesting is that such one tree somewhere, this is in Venice, which is really beautiful on this place, in the same time delivers a lot of services. Delivers cooling, delivers reducing air pollution, delivers health to us, and of course they are also beautiful for our eyes. So I will leave you with this, and I will ask Lia to tell us what is the link with cultural networks and cultural ecosystem services.
Thank you, Eva. I think what we'll do now is I will just kind of argue for like 5-7 minutes if I can, and if you're patient enough to listen to. and keep your questions for afterwards, so that we can open up the debate in a minute. What is interesting, I think Eva really eloquently argued that ecosystem services are the natural measures that cities can implement in the here and now to mitigate the worst effects of climate change, while helping us to transition to regenerative, low carbon, ecologically balanced systems or cities. But ecosystem services are not abstract concepts. It may seem abstract the first time you come across them, but they are not just technical things that are there that you could or not implement. They only become real, and they can only help cities and us transition to a better city and society, etc., if they become deliberate in implementation, if they are supported by clear governance, sustained investment, and above all, I think, stewardship by the community who inhabit that place. And that is where I begin to formulate the question of what conditions, structural, financial, and institutional, must be put in place to enable communities to act as a true custodians of place and the partners in transforming cities and change, in kind of environmental change, but social also change. We all know we are operating in an environment that is skewed towards extractive notions of growth, prioritizing short-term benefit, mass tourism, if you will, external investment at the expenses of local culture, identity, and social cohesion. An environment in which citizens feel abandoned by the institutions. I think we all feel a little bit of that, where democracy no longer feels participatory, I say, and trust in our collective capacity to conceive alternatives is severely undermined. So, to me, this is where culture has to come in. And after 30 years of working at the confluence of planning, placemaking, cultural policy, my belief is that we will not achieve a meaningful collective transition towards regenerative development and climate resilient society until we reposition culture as foundational to society, well-being, and human flourishing. What I'm talking about here is repositioning culture as a value for civic engagement, not just an accessory to destructive models of regeneration and development, but culture as a fundamental infrastructure, as water, energy, transport systems, not as a cost, but as a value creation, an essential public value, which will help us strengthen our notion of citizenship, nurture our critical thinking, foster our ability to participate in making decisions about what Eva was talking about, and in pushing our governments to implement these measures that nature can offer. So in practice, what would it mean really at local level, embedding culture in cultural policy frameworks, for example, in planning, in climate policy, in economic development, in education, in health, in social cohesion plans? What does it mean in practice? Once again, at a micro local level. In some places, for example, it could mean that regulations should safeguard affordable workspaces for artists and creative practitioners, not just as an add-on to regeneration that is destructive, but just as a foundation for nurturing creative practitioners and spaces for them to generate new kind of creative products, supporting also the cultural venues that are there, out there, spread out across the cities or places. In other places, it means decentralizing cultural spaces within walking or cycling distance, so that we reduce the need for car dependence and improve the health of the citizens. And we don't have to travel to major hubs far away. But also, for example, by placing urban culture in urban planning, we are also building the emotional infrastructure that gives citizens a reason to care for their neighbors and their surrounding. So we are living such detached lives, such individual lives, that we do need these emotional spaces. So a square, if you're planning for a square has to be based on how the mindset of the people that live there were, the memories, the stories that are around there. And you cannot do that unless you have artists working with you, with the planners. So in that way, the square becomes the social glue that sparkles intercultural dialogue, and maybe induces more trust between individuals that at the moment are separated, and so on. I cannot get into lots of details now because the scope of this webinar and the focus is different. But what I'm saying here is cultural institutions also are part of this cultural infrastructure that I would like to see as foundational. And cultural institutions like museums, library, can help us shifting narratives, behaviors, and collective imagination. They can enable the very conditions for transition. Adaptive reuse of buildings. It means also stop building big arenas, stop thinking about big festivals. But all this, as I say, has to be brought down to what Eva was saying. Culture can also offer services, and the services that culture offers have to be funded and have to be seen as fundamental to the changes we are putting forward in this discussion. Now, how do we do that? We know there will be various different methods that each country, each city will adopt. But certainly we will need multi-year funding for cultural as foundational, just for culture. At local level, we will need the cultural provision to be funded above anything else, above the regeneration, etc. We will need this kind of, we may even need a special taxation system to invest in culture in order to have yearly programs of investment recurrent and not just one-off. So we have all sorts of systems we can work out if we put our mind to it as policymakers or as the people around this table. But the whole point is only with this level of intentionality can ecosystems, natural ecosystems, have an effect on our transition to a better society. Only if they are intentionally applied. And I'm saying we can only intentionally apply this if we are schooled in it, if we are talking to each other, if we are citizens, if we are participating in the civic life of a place through cultural engagement. Okay, I stop here because otherwise you don't have time for your debate. And we open it up to you guys. Are there burning questions or anything you want to go? Please go ahead, ask. If not, we ask Eva perhaps to go back to one or two aspects that she thinks are fundamental in these cultural ecosystem services and how she has seen the implementation of these services in her work. Yeah, Liz, you have a question.
Thanks, Leah. Absolutely fascinating, both of you. I'm wondering, how do you think river cities as a network might support all of this going forward in our different cities?
Are you referring to the rebalancing of ecosystem services, in which case Eva perhaps is the first port of call for the answer?
And bringing culture into the frame.
And bringing culture.
Strategic, yeah.
Yeah, let's go to Eva first.
Oh, I would like, I really have an image of all participants in the network should begin projects in their own environment, which can then be disseminated by this network, where ecosystem services, hand in hand with culture, goes ahead. Projects which are small or big, but I see an immense lack of knowledge everywhere. So one of the first things which should be done is knowledge sharing. And knowledge sharing, can you do it the best by culture? So knowledge sharing is culture. So I think that if I would like to see ecosystem services implemented somewhere, everywhere, if it's possible, then it's necessary that we begin with knowledge sharing in all ways which we can, by arts, by experts, by projects, by festivals, by music, you name it. It's not important. Important is that we have to share this knowledge, which is. It was really very interesting when I began my research at the university. I thought I will research something which is totally new. In the universities, there is an immense amount of knowledge which never reaches us. So I, as an architect, I was really surprised to see how papers and papers and papers already knows enough to save the earth 10 times. We never heard of them. We only heard of the very spectacular ones, and then it ebbs away, goes away from the news, and that was it. So actually, just like when COVID exploded and everywhere the politicians suddenly went to say to the people, we have to do this, we have to do that, at least in the Netherlands was almost every evening. This is what we should have now, because the problem is very, very big. And in the same time, we have all the means. We have culture, we have ecosystem services, we have nature. Just put them together and let's go on, all of us.
Yeah.
But actually, I would prefer to see from the network.
Yeah. But Eva, to me, what is going on here is that we don't have, at the moment, for what I see working, as I said, for 30 years, but more recently, working in cities and places, I see extreme division in communities. And the divisions are with people saying the green cult, climate change doesn't exist. And others who are actually hit hard by the climate change effects and pandemics and all the rest. And they don't know how to cope with that. They don't have the power to change that. They don't have the means to participate even in a dialogue as we are doing now. So that's my concern. And that's where I come back to the question of what if we had in every place, I'm not saying how it was in the past because I don't want to appear nostalgic and too old, etc. What if we have in every locality, in every city, a cultural infrastructure, which is libraries, museums, small-scale festivals, and venues for meeting, civic engagement, spaces for participatory budgeting, decision-making, for example, democratic spaces for participation. What if we have in any place a well-resourced cultural infrastructure that is our base, where everybody can go and listen to a lecture by you, Eva, you go there and talk about what can be done in that city. Or an architect can go and talk about, or a farmer can go and say, well, look here, because of climate change, I can plant, I can do this. Other people can come in then and understand where they can act in their own locality. But if we don't have this infrastructure, which is for exchange, for civic engagement, for participation, for learning from each other, from practicing dialogue, then we're lost. And I think that's where society is going now. In particular, cultural policy is still going with the old assumption that culture is a cherry on the cake. It brings economic development, if we are lucky, in regeneration. But that kind of regeneration that uses culture as a big venue, as a big flagship project, etc., is the extractive culture that led us to where you ever want to intervene now, led us to all the problems. So we have to walk back from where we are now and bring our communities together. And the argument I'm making is only by supporting this process of change and transformation through a very strong cultural infrastructure in every location.
Do you mind if I answer and then I leave others to answer?
Go.
I think it's very important and very interesting what you touched now. Exactly this segregation by the politics, which is lying and saying all kind of things, and everybody's making opportunistic declarations, which makes that people don't know who to believe. And what you now said was very interesting, because suddenly I've got the picture. There are, however, cultural places where all the people come together, even if they are from one party or the other party. Somewhere we meet each other, and on that place probably should happen. That this what should happen. Introduce the knowledge, or understand that we are all in the same place. Especially because actually climate change, the effects of climate change are not stopping at the borders of your property. You cannot resolve climate problems only on your own place. You have to work together with others. So it's no other way. I was in Paris some days ago for a short time, and I discovered now for the first time that Paris has not only big theaters everywhere, but has very small theaters almost on every second street, with small performances, which are very interesting. And listening to you, I thought, what if all kind of people? So it's really a mix of all kind of people who are going to the theater, lots of them. What if on such a place we introduce it like a very good performance about this problem? Perhaps a comic performance, perhaps. So just don't limit yourself to some scientific boring exposure. So the place to others.
Yeah, okay. If there is other questions, otherwise we just carry on this conversation. I mean, there is the question also of adaptive reuse, of spreading out the provision of spaces for exchange and culture, etc. But please do go ahead, ask questions.
We have a question from Germaine.
Okay.
Yes. My question is, do we have to lecture and inform people, or could we serve people? And answering these questions about what could river cities do, I think, remember, streaming water is the base to life. to health, to all, is to solve all the problems. So what you learn from Paris, Rome, cities in England, the cities that found ways to redevelop or add the river banks as to public space of the city did a very, very strong and good job. So in my opinion, I would think instead of lecturing and informing people because it makes people tired and they don't want to listen and they don't, what's in it for me? Nothing. Serve the people by redeveloping rivers, and so many examples are there in history, in future, and now. So that would be my answer, but I wonder whether you would agree on that. That's my question.
Shall we ask Eva or myself or
whoever feels?
Well, I can answer. Certainly, I agree, and I have absolutely no intention of saying that we should instruct like Soviet-style people on certain issues. What I'm saying is open up the cultural infrastructure to everybody so they can come and participate and access whatever is programmed or done in there. And eventually, they will have more tools as individuals to understand what they need to do, how they can participate in making the changes that they need. That is the humanistic aspiration I was putting forward. In terms of the cities that reutilize the rivers, etc., I have seen tons of these examples throughout my working life. Now, my contention with that is that often this has meant creating high-value housing for the benefit of the developers. Now, what I'm saying is we need to hear, before we go off and do that kind of development, which then increases the value of the land and the houses because it's on water, before we do that, we need the tools within planning in a place to get the citizens there at the table to decide on what they want for that place. What's their stories about that place? How they would like that development to be. But that's all. Yeah, it's.
I think we agree, but I have different perspective. I'm not thinking from redevelopment in terms of how to build and how to construct it. I'm always looking from outside public space. And I think riverbanks should be public space, and the water should not be privatized like they did in many places. Water and land is our basis of life, and not only our life, but everything alive. And I think from the perspective of public space, we could serve, or we could help serving, or we could use services. But services should be, the relation between services and public space is the very, very important source to work on these problems. I'm not saying to solve them because it's complex, but to work on it. So we agree. I'm not offending you saying you should lecture, but there's a lot of talking, and a lot of talking is needed, but it's not as strong as making things. Changing things.
Action is needed. We can't talk constantly now. It's time for action. I don't know, Eva or others, if they want.
No, I know, of course, Chairman very well, and I know that she's making beautiful drawings, which is actually her action on all kind of topics. So I just agree with Germaine that we should do, and of course, drawings are a very, very nice way of serving people to express like this. I wanted just to give you a very small example about the Netherlands. I don't know how far everybody knows. We know all. I experienced it like this, that the Netherlands is full of water, and they did something very nice, that the water is now on the places where they wanted to be, the Dutch. What not everybody knows is that the most democratic place and organization in the Netherlands began because of the water, which was the common enemy of all people, of the rich people or poor people. So the rich people couldn't become very dominant because they needed the poor people to do the work, to build the dikes, to do all this work. I found it always very, very interesting. It was the very first democratic organization where the people united with each other because it was a common enemy. And as we will reach the moment when we all will consider climate change a common problem of all of us, probably we will be more capable of doing together things. So just an addition.
Are there any examples from Sweden of each municipality in Sweden has the capacity really to create, to look after and invest in local resources, be it cultural or other sources of it. Are there examples from Sweden that you think could be of interest to us in this work we are trying to do with the River City network of placing, if you will, cultural infrastructure, albeit defined in different way with different values, at the heart of transitioning towards a sustainable society and a more just environment?
I see a hand of Vera Dahlberg.
Okay. Vera? Vera, do you want to unmute?
Now you hear me.
Yeah, now you're fine.
I'm not a part of this or your network, but I'm been following it for many years now. But from a bit from the side, I live in Örebro, in the middle of Sweden, between Stockholm and Oslo. And when we talk about this, regenerate the waterfronts, the riverfronts, we have a beautiful river running straight through the city, surrounding the castle, medieval castle. And I see in a perspective in over a few years back, the city has been very committed to create meeting places just close to the river. They build boardwalks, they regenerate parks, and so you can have you can walk practically alongside the river through the city, through parks. It is very little which is built private property close to the water, and it's also very obvious to see that people like this. So in the summer, they're close to the castle. They've been building nice boardwalks and sitting spaces. People meet there. They sit there. They do all kinds of things. They have picnic, they buy coffee in a shop and go down to the river. And I see this does something with people. And also, as I see, I have the park here outside my house where I live. What do you say? It fosters people. If a park is very nice and comfortable and welcoming, we also care about that park. We bring our garbage litter away from the park. We don't drop it there.
Yeah.
So I think we have a great environment there, lots of trees, greens, and the water. And I see it makes something, it creates something within us. And as Lia says, yes, we need more meeting spaces. We need a decentralized cultural venues. Then we have to come up with a way to create them.
No, what I'm saying with Germaine, and she's absolutely right, we need more free, accessible spaces, not more privatized or commercialized public spaces, such
Exactly.
as rivers, waterfronts, etc. That was my argument, because
Yes.
I do know if we have access to nature, and we all know that brings health benefits as well, which you really could actually, in terms of numbers, and put forward to the politicians in terms of benefits that it brings. But I say my contention is it has to be free and accessible. We must stop privatizing nature, parks, etc. So we must therefore be able to argue for foundation culture and leisure investment in that.
I totally agree.
Okay. Anybody? Carlo Galluccio?
Yes. Hi, and thank you so much for the presentations. I have two questions, one for Eva and one for Lia. So to Eva, I would like to ask something technical and like from the engineering point of view. I live in Milan, a city that used to have a big network of canals, and that has many rivers that have been covered. So they are like culverted canals. And there has been a debate about reopening them, but many people are against this project because they say it is just a vanity project and that it would cause a lot of, let's say, mobility problems, traffic congestion problems, and so on. So my question is, given that, like from a Dutch perspective, is it possible to maybe reopen canals and give back to the city and its citizens spaces without paralyzing a high-speed city? And to Lia, I would like to ask, there are many mixed signals here in Milan because in one hand, there are projects that are very interesting. For example, planting trees, new parks on the rail yard lines and so on that were closed many, many years ago. At the same time, there are many redevelopment projects, especially in the city center, where greenery is absent, despite the fact that the municipality and the mayor say that they are committed to transforming Milan in a 15-minute city. They are part of the C40 group. They adhere to projects that aim at transforming Milan in a very green place, in a greener place, actually. But at the same time, some of these projects, redevelopment of squares and so on, they are just, big, like cemented squares with no greenery at all. So do we need like a more bottom-up approach, or is something missing on the top-down approach?
Okay.
How can we improve this?
Okay, so we have like 4 minutes before the end of this. So Eva, do you want to go first?
Yes, okay. Hi, Carlo. It's really nice to try to answer your question. I think that what I didn't hear from you is how integrated is approached the whole project of opening the canals, because the whole climate adaptation problem cannot be solved only by doing one thing isolated. So actually, we should have a look at the whole. So, for instance, you said a high-speed city. Is this necessary that it stays high speed? How hot is it? How much transpiration or evaporation we would need to help heat islands? So all these problems we should have a look integrated as one thing, and then I could give you a better answer than that. That isolated solutions very often are not working. In the same time, in the Netherlands, there were also projects to cut canals, to put them full of asphalt. And actually, we know now that the more water bodies we have in a city, the better the ventilation, the cooling, the greenery is working. So that's a general answer.
I like what you said, Eva, just quickly to comment, because I think you are pointing at what we're trying to say. We need a holistic approach. We cannot just apply one technical solution and then leave it to develop in itself, or fail, or be successful. So we need a holistic approach, which I think, Carlo, is what is missing in what you're telling. I don't know whether those areas that you are saying they've been now all concreted over, and the greening of it is failing. I don't know whether it's in the periphery or whether it's in the center. My feeling is that most Italian cities are not even looking at the suburbs, at the outer parts of the neighborhoods outside the city center. They are not thinking in terms of reactivating empty buildings, or adaptive reusing what exists, which already have CO2 sunk into it. But they are just thinking of adding some greenery would solve the problem. And as we heard from Eva, that's not enough. And we need a holistic plan of how we will make our city healthier, more equitable, and more green in the end. So, but I have to finish here. I'm sorry, the time is short. 1 minute, and Elizabeth will bring us to the close.
What a nice way to start our lunch sessions. Thank you so much, Eva. Thank you so much, Lia. Thank you, everyone, for your inspiring questions and for sharing your own experiences. I will take 1 more minute of you. If this conversation inspired you, if you want to hear more from us, I would like to invite you all to take the next step. I would like to ask Bernd if he's here to share my thank you. So we thrive for the diverse expertise of our members. So if you want, you can become our member. You can send us an email. You will see here 3 keywords. The first one is for you that you're interested in becoming a member. Just send us an email, and then you will gain access to our network of experts. Maybe we will have collaborative project opportunities, and for sure a platform to advocate for the sustainable regeneration of our urban waterfronts. You can find all the details also on our website, that it's in the middle, river-cities.org. And that was the first of our webinars, lunch sessions, and we hope to see you back here very soon. Mark your calendars for the next one, who will be in March 11th at 12 CET. And we will be shifting our lenses to a global scape for urbanization trends in global comparison. So we are honored to host Bernhard Müller, the former mayor of Wiener Neustadt and current Secretary General of the Urban Forum. He will be in conversation with Bernd Herger from River Cities to discuss how cities are shaping the 21st century and what the city of future actually looks like from the international perspective. Maybe it's like a masterclass in municipal governance and strategic development. So thank you again for joining us. Thank you again for today, and enjoy the rest of your day. And we'll see you soon, 11th of March at 12 CT. Thank you.
Ciao. Bye. Bye. Thank you.